So you just heard your interview on CFuzz for Under the Pink Triangle, and that was your first coming out story,
Yeah,
other
I know.
than CBC and now CFuzz.
Yeah, isn't that kind of funny how when Lee was describing that like pushing me out, so to speak, and it went right from like zero to media, and I kind of feel like it a little bit again. Like I've been trans for a very short period of time, and now kind of pushing it out feels really big to me.
Had the grace to keep on moving on at a pace that's right where you belong. In the face of all that's going on, you don't have to run that race. In the time where the chaos seems too much, oppressed don't even seem to touch the waning hearts, too tired to show their face. Had the grace.
But there is that small little piece of Kyler that's like, oh my God, what are you doing? What are you doing? Ah! So there's a little piece freaking out right now, and I'm about to go, have a quick drink. But, otherwise I think I'm doing quite well. All right, I'm learning.
No booming?
Boom. Nope. I'm pretty excited today. I get to do a photo shoot for headshots and stuff like that. It's my first time doing it as Kyler. I did do, I have 10 photo shoots. I've had people tell me that I was good looking, I'm just judging myself at the moment because we're not really born with how we look. And it used to drive me nuts that people would call me good looking and all this stuff when it was the last thing that I wanted. I wanted people to really know the real me. But that was back before I transitioned. The first time I ever did headshots, it was super uncomfortable. I was in my early 30s. And I was then a gay woman. And I did the headshots because my girlfriend at the time was a hairstylist and really loved how she could make me up and do up my hair. It's like playing Barbie, but I was the Barbie. I was really excited to thought of, hey, somebody thought I'm good looking enough to take headshots. So there must be some value in me that I'm enough. It didn't feel very good, and because it wasn't the face I wanted to show. The discomfort that I thought was really obvious on my face, the makeup couldn't hide. All that makeup, the hair dye, standing there. Ugh. And the difference now of knowing how good it is to feel being me, being in my skin now. Trying to find the words that you could. So when I look in the mirror, more and more every day, I look at and I recognize the image I have in my own mind is there, outside of me in the mirror. Whereas back 20 years or so ago when I took those pictures, it was not that way at all, and it was painful to look in the mirror. And so I have a hard time looking at those photographs, and I almost burn them because to me, they just represent that pain of trying to hide and put on this mask that society deemed okay. And you know what? This is the real deal. Like this, there's no more masks. This is it. Tempest it's a little black box theater just on a corner right beside the high school. I first started coming to Tempest to see the plays. My fiance is a huge fan of performing arts,
And it didn't really matter the topic, we would just get tickets and go. And always kind of leave like, wow. And have great conversations. And so that was really intriguing. And then it turned out that the part of the production crew of Tempest was actually our neighbor just down the road. And Yanti knew them because she knows everybody. And so then Kate came over for coffee, and they were chatting and stuff. And I was getting kind of bored with my life. I've started transitioning, started moving, and thinking, well, what else do I want to do with it? And coming out of my little crab shell, and I mentioned to Kate I thought about acting classes, and she's like, all right, I got an ensemble coming up, come check it out. And I was like, oh. And, in a world of gray, that definitely seemed intriguing to explore a little bit. I have done drama like everybody else in junior high, and I was like, oh, I'll never do that again. But she was really welcoming. And so for the ensemble, I got to do, I think it was 2.5 months work of weekly classes with a whole group, and it was so dynamic and so much fun. It was very interesting to me that to come into a black box space like this, it isn't as, the terrifying isn't what you think it is, like getting up on stage. For me, it was actually showing my face and being seen, and that was part of why I wanted to do the acting classes. So it seemed to me like really natural to come into this little black box theater and zip off everything I've been put together to keep myself locked in and safe in the world, and come into a place and actually try something out where I was actually safe because of who was in the space. And that makes a big difference on what a safe space is. It's who's in the space making it safe. I got to do a 10-minute play with another actress, amazing actress, and I had to sing out loud. Whew. So I took singing lessons too. But you know what? All that stuff that pushes us out of our comfort zone is so good for us, and I want to grow myself, like a river or a swamp. What do you want to be? And I want to be flowing. So getting to do that play was so much fun. It was so much fun. And so I got, I guess, what they call the acting bug, maybe. And to me, it's just like playing. Like it's play like I got to do before I went to school, and we would all have our own parts, and we have so much fun for hours playing outside and the adventures. And so to me, that's what Black Box Theatre in Tempest here has provided. And if the rest of Penticton actually knew, they'd be so busy and I'd never get to get in here, so. I think the starting of masks for myself was immediate with when I was about 4 or 5, saying I don't want to be wearing a dress. Why do I always got to wear a dress? And putting that mask on like a good little girl, and I'm just gonna listen to my mom as best I can. And then the next mask of, I'm a good kid at school. And so I think we all put masks on as we go through life, as people let us know what is accepted or what they expect of us, running into hidden expectations, and starting to mask up to hide the vulnerability. So when I realized, when I was about 6 and I'm flexing in the mirror and I was missing oh my gosh, and I'm like, who am I gonna tell this to? Like I couldn't tell I was just, so that was one of those first things that I could feel that I started bricking up and hiding. And so more plastering, more walls, more mask. And I think it's the mask that really kill us, because it gets so heavy. And I knew that I was hiding behind it for so long. And I was not going to take that sucker off. I was not taking that off. Because I thought for sure, I knew for sure it wasn't going to necessarily turn out the way I wanted. However, then, of course, waking up from the cancer thing, that mask is off. If anybody's ever gone through any cancer surgeries or any kind of surgery, and you wake up and you realize what your real truth is, because you're raw and hurting, and you can't hide from that truth. And I can no longer hide from that truth. And the mask is off. And whether it's the pain or the frustration or the fear, we're all just being human. We all have this. And being able to admit that stuff, allows me to get to my vulnerability, which is the greatest gift we all have. But the world says it's so wrong, and it's weakness, and it's not. Our social paradigm is skewed. If we could all get to this spot of being vulnerable with each other, just imagine how beautiful our world would be. And that's what we can do in safe spaces. Like a Tempest, is get to be vulnerable again and try things out without having that repercussion or the judgment. Yeah, Malleus Maleficarum.
Step 1, embrace the insanity. Step 2, dance.
You know, it was actually a great pleasure to be part of Malleus. It was also very emotionally turbulent. I was thrilled to get to be involved and invited to be one of the witches of this play, because the witches are about the people that are othered in our society for reasons, whatever, but it's out of fear, anger, any of that.
What do you know of witchcraft? Of witches? We've all heard the stories, have we not? Heard of them in song, or perhaps at their den of sin and iniquity, the theatre.
The crux of the work centered on the fact that ideas about witchcraft have been used to oppress women and others and crush the spirits and bodies of those who challenged patriarchy. It's not a stretch to see how these dangerous narratives continue to play out.
It's a place where I can bring all of myself. And I remember, I think it was the first day or the second rehearsal that we had, Kate said, okay, so here's your courage that you're bringing, because we obviously, as performers, we all bring our courage. And she said, okay, here's your courage, and I'm gonna need you to take your courage way over there. And I was like, okay.
In that play, I get to be a trans witch. And a lot of people, I guess, would think I was just pretending to be myself up on that stage. However, as I was moving through working on that play, yes, there is a piece of myself that I could create that character and identify with it and bring it to life. It wasn't just a mask, but a piece of my own self that I could find and bring alive. That is acting. That's not a mask. Like, I actually have that within me to do that piece of that character.
He made me third witch. Warlock. Witch? Warlock? Which is which? But I'm not really in any of his plays, am I? I write my own story.
Witches are symbols of our worst fears, but witches don't really exist. These were and are people, mostly women and free thinkers, who were persecuted for reasons as trivial as age, marital status, economic status, or nonconformity.
Surprise, I'm not playing. I'm not playing a man, playing a woman, playing a man. I am my own man.
Witches often surfaced when something inexplicable and terrible happened, and people made up conspiracy theories to try and explain it. They tried to clean up the truth by avoiding it altogether. As an example of the inspiration that came from the company, the actors I chose to embody witches 1, 2, and 3 from Macbeth are trans, non-binary, and queer.
That was easy.
Tickle the ego.
3 performers, all having felt the sting of being othered, paired well with a deeper curiosity about various mistruths propagating through history. Enter secret weapon Vanessa Yaremchuk. Vanessa is a research scientist with a passion for theater. I was astonished by how much information Vanessa brought to light, and she was impressed with how the facts she presented could weave into a thoughtful and entertaining theater.
Being someone who is othered, being a queer person.
Did you not hear it? She
They
is a Shut up!
We all felt deeply telling these stories and hearing these stories.
I would say transformative is definitely a choice word in this whole experience. Day one was just like, take that shell and throw it away. And it was such a liberating, freeing experience to go through that and to tell a story through a character that has such a message to say. And each of us were gifted with these amazing characters that resonate so deeply with who we are as people. And I was completely emotionally affected by this whole journey and this whole experience and the bonds that I have created with all of my ensemble. It was such an enriching experience, and grateful is honestly doesn't say it enough for me.
Our embedded ideas about witches disregards the very facts that we can be learning from, and the most powerful way to do so is in the stories we tell.
Did you just make that up right now?
Well, I've been working on the images for a little while, but it really seemed to come together quite well just now.
Just made that up on the spot like that.
Well, yes.
You're a hell of a storyteller.
Wow. Thank you.
You're also a big, fat liar!
Heresy!
I didn't call God a liar. I called you one.
Same thing.
So you think you're God?
Yes!
This play was such a beautiful experience and provoked so much thought for so many people. The amount of people that I had spoken to downstairs about how I'm really leaving today really thinking about this experience and how much it affected them, and hearing people sitting in that discomfort of what are the stories our characters were telling, and really understanding like this was such a misrepresentation of these people, and how unfortunate to live in such a veil of fear at all times.
Othering is a false construct. It's a way of separating and dividing each other when really we could be unified. There's more about us that are similar than not. And why do you need to understand someone to be kind to them? Like, I don't understand how my transmission works, but I still believe in it. Still nice to it. We're coming into theater to play people, but we're taking off the mask to do that. And encouraged to do that, and it's such a wonderful experience and creates like this family, this magic within a group. And I think that's why people get addicted to theater, because you get to feel like you're seen for all of yourself, not just all the characters I can play. Thanks, buddy. Even without the salami.
Look, I was trying to get a watch that. So splendid. So splendid.
I am live the talking gourd. I love it. I am obsessed with everything that I have seen, and I absolutely fully resonated with Kyler's piece. I love that so much, and that was just such a unique take on everything, and I really I felt like there was good representation. I really loved it so much. Like, oh, I'm just obsessed with it.
Yes, the world will hunt me for willing myself into existence. How do you like that, Willie?
I'm changed again. Every time I come into this theater to do a show, I never leave the same. I'm always changed. And so this one, I'm just like...
I've been very strategic in how I wanted to put out my voice. Tempest has been a great place for me to start the physicalization and bringing out the voice. But I started kind of more with Sifa's and my Under the Pink Triangle podcast because nobody would see me. And it was right before COVID, and I didn't have to look at anybody, but I could still get my message out. And during COVID, my podcast partner started volunteering at Sifa's, Peach City Radio, 92.9 FM. And so he's like, hey, guess what? I found us a home. We can actually do a radio show. I'm like, oh, right on, let's do this. And so we started doing recording sessions down at the Sifa's, which is fantastic. And we were brought into a program called The Local Matters. and Danielle Savage was our producer. And she did a wonderful job of really bringing it together and feel like it moved from like the podcast in my living room to now an actual radio show with headphones and microphones, and it was really great. So what makes that place safe is they recognize and celebrate diverse voices. It's wonderful, and we're just talking about the stuff that really matters in community, like our food, right? Like inclusion. And of course, we're a podcast, we're bringing up what it is to be living under the pink triangle.
Hello, and welcome to Local Matters, a 1-hour show about the people, places, and stories in the Penticton area. This show combines interviews, conversations, news, events, and other topics relevant to the community. We are all your hosts, Danielle Savage,
Kyler Solmark,
Vanessa Yaremchuk,
Kane Critchlow.
And you are listening to Local Matters on Peach City Radio at 92.9 CFUZ here in Penticton, British Columbia. Peach City Radio is Penticton's community radio station. It's by and for the people. It's been around for about a decade, but only on air for, I can't actually remember, I want to say 5 or 6 years. So it was an online radio station. They moved to an FM broadcast in the last handful of years, and it's just growing all the time in numbers, volunteers, and listeners. Under the Pink Triangle is an important part of Local Matters. It's a segment of Local Matters, so it's a monthly show on it, and it's important for the community because it represents a huge part of our community, of people in the Rainbow family that are here and living in Penticton. And so I think it's just very important for people to hear those voices that are outside of the Rainbow, but also people that might want to see themselves reflected and hear themselves reflected on the airwaves. Well, just to get started, why are we talking about this?
I guess because a lot of people will use a sense that there isn't a history of trans, non-binary, queer people as kind of a justification for hate. And I think it's really important to demonstrate that trans people, queer people, non-binary people have always existed and always been here. It's not something new. It's not something that people made up. It's just humanity, and it's something that humans have always had in their mix.
It's more important than ever for people to gather together and reflect the true diversity of our communities. And I think community radio is one of the best ways to do that, because people are creating things from the heart and from their minds that are happening in real time and reflecting the world that's immediately around us. And it's not happening halfway across the globe. It's happening here, it's happening now, it is local, and it's constantly changing. Absolutely, there's a strong link between community radio and theater in that I think both entities are responding to the moment that's happening, especially a theater like Tempest Town, where content is being made and developed for the public for that time and space. It's local, it's specific, it's not out of context. And I think the ability to kind of respond to our local zeitgeist, not just, it's of course related to the global one, but it really builds a sense of connection to the people around us in this community. And that's what really matters at the end of the day.
I feel sometimes like I'm this zebra cruising around, and people are like, no, you're a black or a white horse. No, I'm not. I'm a different type. To keep staying in a place where I'm hiding and pretending who I am, just so other people feel comfortable, that's not living. It's not living. I don't want that cage. I'll never go back in.